because at this point, there's nothing to talk about with GTA 6 except GTA 6 as a concept, as an idea living in our hearts. It's sort of this like spiritual being at this point. It's kind of fascinating. You know, I think the stat was it's been like over 500 days since the last trailer or something. It's insane. Anyway, former Rockstar dev has come out and said that GTA 6 doesn't need any additional trailers at all. Which is probably true. It's probably true. Vermeij was the technical director at Rockstar Games North between 95 and 2009. He was involved in many of the company's biggest releases, including the epic GTA trilogy of titles from the PS2 era to GTA 4, which, as you can see here, outlined, you know, that very same thing. And you can see here, what does he say? If it was my call, I wouldn't release any additional trailers. There is more than enough hype around GTA 6, and the element of surprise is going to keep or make the release only bigger as an event. And you know, it's a funny little snippet. I'm glad that Andrew Heighton from Insider Gaming pulled this, because you know, I didn't see this tweet previous, but it is kind of, I mean, it is true. It is true. They don't need to do any trailers and it will still generate plenty of hype. They could freaking shadow drop it, which, to be clear, is like next to impossible. It would leak well before that. But they could do anything they want and get away with it because it's GTA 6. And anybody who doesn't think that GTA 6 is like big enough to get away with whatever they want, just, I'm sorry, you don't understand how big GTA 6 is or is going to be. It is on such a different planet and scale. Again, there's just nothing comparable. There just isn't. And so I think it's going to be really, really fascinating to see how they handle this. But it's why after we didn't get anything in like February, I said, I think it's very possible we don't see GTA 6 until like August or September. I really think that they don't need to do anything, and it will still be the elephant in the room, the sleeping dragon on the pile of gold. Like it will still be totally fine if they do nothing. And at some point you have to be like, well, then why would you do something? Why would you spend all that money for like TV commercials and for all this stuff if you don't need to? I mean, they realistically could say nothing until early October. Everybody's like, what the hell is happening? You said you're releasing by the end of this year and we still haven't gotten a second trailer. We don't even know what the deal is. And they could just drop like a single picture that just says GTA 6 next week. Pre-orders open now. And it would be all anybody can talk about. Like, they really don't need to do anything. They don't. I don't think they'll do nothing. I do think that they will take some, you know, do a second trailer again, maybe in August or something. I think that they will start to kind of rev it up. But you have to remember, Take-Two also, it's not just GTA 6. Take-Two is also concerned with the performance of Borderlands. Mafia is also a game under their purview, but I think Mafia, because it's a smaller project for them compared to Borderlands and GTA 6. I think for them, they are banking more on word of mouth to sell that game and hopefully for them good reviews. So I don't think they're going to market the crap out of Mafia. I don't think you'll see a lot of like TV ads, for example, for Mafia, but they want to make sure definitely that they don't smother Borderlands 4 in their GTA 6 marketing. They don't want to overshadow that because they want that to also be a $1 billion game. They just want GTA 6 to be a $5 billion game. So, you know, they don't want to step on their own toes. They don't want to trip themselves up. So instead, they are going to be more methodical and careful with it. And I think the way that they're going to do that is, you know, if they choose to drop a trailer now, considering that Borderlands 4 has been moved up to September 12th, that makes it quite possible that we don't get the GTA 6 second trailer until maybe like mid to late September. It'd be really funny if they dropped it the same day as Marathon's launch on the 23rd, but they could drop that trailer late September even and just be like next month, October 28th, GTA 6. Boom. And it'll be fine. A full month of buildup, of hype, of all this stuff. Easy peasy. Now, it's probably going to leak if they get really, really close to it. But I think the other piece of this too is that I really would be surprised if they're doing physical editions like within the first week or two. Maybe not even for the first like few months, because you remember what happened with AC Shadows. People have already forgotten this. With AC Shadows, the physical versions of it leaked like what was it, a month early, I think it was. Let me see if I can find it. All of AC Shadows leaked. Like, the whole game is out there. Physical copies are in circulation. People are already posting gameplay and screenshots a month before launch. And they verified it, that it did happen. Because they were physical copies that were in like a Walmart warehouse or something. And some guy just saw them in the box, grabbed a few copies, took them home, sold them on Facebook Marketplace like a genius for $100 a pop. And it happened in a few different places all over the world where people started doing this. We had people in chat that said that they lived, I think it was Iran. Somebody said that they saw street vendors selling copies that they somehow got a hold of. Like, physical copies are much easier to leak early, especially for a big recognizable game. And if that was happening for AC Shadows, it's gonna happen for GTA 6. If there are physical copies of the game disc out in the world in the weeks before it launches, those will leak. People will break into the stores and the warehouses to steal them because it'll be so hype. Those copies will be selling for $5 a pop, assuming they have the game on them. Like, and at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if they just do like a game code. The discs don't even have any game data on them. Or they just, because again, GTA 6 can get away with whatever the hell they want. They could just come out and be like, you know what? We're not going to risk it. We're not going to risk it. GTA 6 will have a physical edition, but it's going to come 6 months after launch. We're not even going to start manufacturing them until after the game has been released. Because like, why would they risk it? They don't need to. They'll release it digital only, and you're still going to buy it. Let's be completely honest here. Plus, they get bigger margins. They make more money when they sell it digital. You think that's lost on them? No. They know damn well they're going to make more money on it if it launches digital only. So my bet for a long time has been that they're going to do a delayed physical release and they're going to do a digital only for the actual launch. And maybe they'll set it up as like early access where you pay an extra $50, you pay $120 for your copy and you get early access to GTA 6 like 2 weeks or something stupid early. So it's actually just like the actual launch date. And then they do the physical editions later. Because I just think they don't want to risk it. Because you better believe if there's physical copies out there, they're going to get stolen. They're going to get leaked. It's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be a whole thing. So tell us, Luke, how big is GTA 6? So big. So big. You don't even know. You couldn't handle it. That's the thing. You couldn't even handle it. Oh, man. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't do another trailer until like late September or August. Because that's the thing. If they launch the trailer in August, they potentially step on Mafia. They don't want to do that. So it's like, oh, they dropped the trailer in September. Well, they really don't want to step on the toes of Borderlands marketing cycle. So maybe not then, unless it's later September. And then you just launch the game a month later. Why not? Why do you have to spend 2 months marketing the game? 6 months, a year? You don't need to. You can do whatever you want. You're GTA 6. You know, you think it's possible for a GTA 6 stealth drop? I personally don't think so, because if there's any whispers at all, somebody will leak it. Somebody will leak it. If somebody in the marketing team, if somebody on the legal team is out at the bar and they let it slip and they just tell somebody, yeah, by the way, GTA 6 coming out, we're going to shadow drop it next week, that will get out. Like, Oblivion Remaster, big deal. It's a big deal. That thing was leaking like crazy, okay? Leaking like crazy before it shadow dropped. More like sunny drop, really. Broad daylight drop is kind of what it did. But if it was leaking, GTA 6 will leak way faster. Okay? Way faster. So yeah, I think the odds of it shadow dropping are minuscule. But if they could somehow pull it off, they would do it, because they could. He took my thing. Red flag.
3 days, you know there is a boardroom full of executives that are sitting around scratching their head, screaming for their secretary to explain this to them in Fortnite terms. Reverence. That was the first word that came to mind when I sat down to make this video. Expedition 33 is breathtaking. It is a game that commands respect on every single level and deserves every bit of praise that it's gotten. It is one of the best examples of what today's developers are capable of, what games are capable of, how far they can reach, the value that they can deliver, how they can be far more than simple entertainment. But at the same time, it is incredibly frustrating because it paints a very clear contrast between it and how shallow and utterly vapid the rest of this industry has become. Games like Expedition 33 are what we deserve, but are rarely given. And it's not for a lack of talent. We know that because these are former Ubisoft developers making a game that we would never see from Ubisoft or any major publisher for that matter. Today, I want to talk about the explosive popularity of Expedition 33, how it's already broken records, my experience playing it, and, man, you know, it really must burn to be absolutely destroyed by the very people you let go. But before that, if you want to be a part of the video game revolution and make games for yourself, you can use today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by longtime friend of the channel, Boot.dev, a back-end web development platform that does one thing most coding courses don't. Actually keeps you engaged. If you've ever tried learning how to code and bounced off of a wall of boring videos or tutorial hell, you'll get why this is different. Boot.dev feels more like an RPG than a textbook. You got quests, XP, levels, boss battles, and even a global leaderboard. You'll learn Python and Go by building real projects, not just watching somebody else type. And if you're stuck, there's a Discord community and an AI bear wizard that's named Boots that's going to help you be able to figure out what you want without spoon-feeding it to you. This entire program is designed to help you prep for back-end roles where you can earn up to $100,000 a year and even get some remote work, but without the get-rich-quick nonsense that you see a lot of the times. You can get access to literally all of the content on Boot.dev in guest mode, and if you go all in, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. So go to Boot.dev and use code LegendaryDrops to get 25% off your first year. If you're serious about becoming a developer, this is the place to start. Expedition 33 was one of my most anticipated games since its reveal. The turn-based combat looked like a true iteration or evolution on JRPGs that we've seen over the years. The idea of using quick-time events, active dodge, and pairing mechanics in combat seemed like a fresh idea. It had an all-star cast of voice actors. The premise of the game's story, where a celestial paintress is painting a descending number, killing all those older than the age of 33, was genuinely different, and the art style was captivating. Actually, back at the start of last month, I had posted on Twitter saying, I don't know why, but I have an oddly good feeling about Expedition 33. My favorite games are the ones that are coming out of left field from unheard of and unproven developers. I'm genuinely hoping it's one of them. Little did I know just how right I would be. Player Obscure Expedition 33 launched to 60,000 concurrent players on Steam, selling over 500,000 copies in its first 24 hours. It had then surpassed that days later, doubling that number to 121,000 concurrent players on Steam and reaching 1 million copies sold in just 3 days. Hell, the game sold out of physical copies on Amazon and in stores in Australia. For a narrative-driven turn-based RPG that isn't named Persona, coming from a studio that's releasing its very first game, this is nigh unheard of, my friends. The game released to near universal praise among critics. It is simply too good for anybody to ignore, reaching a 91 on OpenCritic with a 100% player rating and a 92 on Metacritic with a 9.7 player rating. The game is so popular among players that it now holds a world record. Paul Tossi of Forbes wrote an article titled, "Players just ensured Claire Obscure Expedition 33's record can't be touched." He writes, I wrote an article over the weekend that confirmed that Claire Obscure Expedition 33, the RPG from first-time developer Sandfall, was in fact the highest user-scored game in Metacritic history. Now, players have caught wind of that. Some pushed back on this, saying it was early and this is just based on a few hundred reviews, playing it super early. Well, people have been playing it over the course of the weekend, and there are now 600% more reviews in, up to 3,300, and the score has actually increased to a 9.7 out of 10 from a 9.6 previously. I've said that it's possible that scores fall in time, but what has happened here cemented Expedition 33's title as one of the highest scored games on this platform. Nothing else is close or will get close anytime soon. These thousands of reviews mean that of the top 100 plus best scored games on Metacritic's list, it's already passed many of them in total scores. And again, it's not a close competition. I've only been able to find one 9.3 at all, The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine DLC, Every other historic game that you have heard of is somewhere between an 8.9 and 9.2. Yes, that one. Yes, that one too. Check any one you like. This, my friends, is a flawless victory. Plain and simple, it's the kind of game that should go on to sell tens of millions of copies. Honestly, it's the game that you hope does. When you play it, you want everybody else to play it. And if it doesn't become the most popular game ever, it feels like it's a slight against you. Because it is. We deserve this game. We deserve more games like this. And Sandfall, with a team of a mere 30 ex-Ubisoft developers, deserves all of its recognition, success, and more. While playing Expedition 33, I had an epiphany of sorts. I came to the conclusion that the games industry is desperately clinging to a coloring book, tracing over the same tired outlines, filling in old shapes with new colors, terrified to stray beyond what has already been done. Almost nobody dares to treat games like a blank canvas, to make a mess, to break the frame, to let their imagination spill out and ruin the floor. But where the rest of the industry is coloring inside the lines, Expedition 33 tears the canvas off the wall, smears their hands in the paint, and throws themselves into their work. They let it bleed, they let it burn, they let it scream. They didn't just make a game, they made something alive. I almost don't even know where to even start describing this game or its genius. While Expedition 33 definitely takes inspiration from a wide variety of games, that's as far as it goes. It's inspiration with iteration, never imitation. You catch flashes of the UI taking cues from Persona, the combat adapting ideas from Legend of Dragoon or Final Fantasy VIII, the mournful, hopeless world whispering shades of Final Fantasy X, and the monster design tipping its hat to Dark Souls. But everything here is unmistakably its own. Right out of the gate, the game grips you with its music, its atmosphere, its art, and its writing, a world wrapped in quiet desperation. Most of us come into Expedition 33 already knowing the premise, a world shattered by a calamity, a celestial paintress that is marking humanity's final days by painting a number, and a desperate expedition that is trying to break the cycle. But Sandfall didn't just build a premise, they made it a feeling, and they drive it into you. You walk the streets of Lumiere, you talk to its people, you are given control of somebody heading to their gommage, a final farewell. You walk them down to the pier, watching as the paintress calls their number and paints their death into this world. You hear the voices of the townspeople, see the hollowness in their eyes, feel the ache in their words. And for the first time in a long time, a game makes you feel the stakes, how important yet futile your journey feels, how small and desperate these lives are, how this world is quietly fading before your eyes. You can feel this beautiful, aching world. What impressed me most about Expedition 33 is its revival of subtlety and nuance. In an industry that has been obsessed with appealing to the widest audience possible, executives chasing infinite growth, games have been stripped of any ambiguity. Modern storytelling assumes that the player must be handheld through every story beat, every emotion, every idea in case they might get confused and stop buying their games. But Sandfall respects its audience. They don't feel like they need to spell everything out. They don't insult you with constant on-the-nose exposition. They let you live in their world, absorb its meaning, piece together its mysteries. Characters reveal themselves through actions and subtext rather than bullet points. And nothing is predictable. I have been floored countless times by this game's narrative, hands in the air yelling absolute cinema. There is so little revealed, yet so much at the exact same time. You are given the space to truly know these characters, but not a single one of them really fits cleanly into an archetype. They are complex, contradictory, messy, human in a way that very few games ever achieve. Every member of your party carries the same trauma of the world that they're living in, but they wear it differently. And the moment that you think you have somebody figured out, the page turns and you see a side of them that you hadn't before. And it's all delivered by an all-star voice cast. You wander a world littered with the remnants of the expeditions that came before you, thousands of bodies marking your path. For those who come after, we continue. It's not just a slogan of this world, it's a lived, brutal truth. You're constantly reminded about how important your mission is and how hopeless it all feels. Twists, turns, cliffhangers. The game dares you to keep going, dares you to understand more. Even reality itself bends as black and white dream sequences cut through the world, boxed by vertical pillar box lines, stripping away any comfort, any warmth. These moments don't just feel different, they feel wrong, like they exist outside of time itself, and that deliberate discomfort sinks into you. The soundscape and the world design are utterly breathtaking. I cannot count how many times I have stopped dead in my tracks, panned the camera around slowly, and just stared, because the scene before me looked like it was a painting that deserved to be hung in a gallery. Expedition 33 is built around music and art at every single level, from skill names to weapons to the names of towns themselves. It's a world that doesn't push you forward. It begs you to stop, to look, to feel, to listen. It's visibly distinct, it's audibly distinct, yet eerily familiar at the exact same time. And that mixture of mystery and recognition is exactly what keeps you rooted in place. Well, at least until the gameplay rips you off your feet. As a fan of turn-based games, 3 of my favorite games of all time are Grandia 2, Final Fantasy VIII, and Legend of Dragoon. I have never seen a game revolutionize turn-based combat like this before. I'll be honest, I was afraid. When I had heard about the dodge, parry, and quick time event mechanics, I thought it was just going to be gimmicks. But they're not gimmicks. They're the solution. Turn-based combat has struggled to stay relevant in the modern age. Part of that is due to executives not wanting to fund these type of games, but the other part of it is that players today, including myself, just don't really have the patience like we once did. And while some games have been successful and people obviously still want it, there needs to be an evolution. That's why we've seen auto battle systems dominate the genre, reducing what used to be thoughtful, tactical gameplay into passive, gacha-like gameplay loops. Expedition 33 refuses to let that happen. Instead, it rewards players for staying engaged. Dodging at the right time will grant you action points or other buffs depending on the pictos that you have. Parrying will boost your damage. Hitting time prompts will amplify your attacks. These mechanics don't feel bolted on. They feel natural, inevitable, earned. It's the evolution of turn-based combat that I've been waiting for since Final Fantasy VIII, a true, seamless fusion of action and strategy that keeps you locked in every second without betraying the roots of this genre. Expedition 33 isn't just a great game. I think it's a quiet rebellion, a reminder of everything that this industry could be and everything it has chosen not to be. It's proof that we just need someone, somewhere to care enough to create something real, something beautiful, something that dares to reach beyond the safe, dead outlines of what's already been done before. One of the things that really stood out to me and the game isn't getting enough appreciation for is its return to unique characters. It's something that we used to have in a lot of JRPGs, but a lot of these games have kind of gotten away from it, made it where all these characters can kind of just, they're just Lego sets essentially. You can build them however you want and they all can have the exact same skills. But each character in Expedition 33 is remarkably unique from the next one. Luna has her elemental stains, Mael has her stances, CL has a mix of both of them, and then all of these characters can work dynamically with one another to set up one another for different attacks and combos and things like that. There's a lot of genius in that. But we've been deprived of that over the last few years because, well, a lot of these companies just don't trust the player. I've been talking about it recently because I saw somebody post, they made a comparison between Skyrim and Oblivion. They showed about how much content had been removed from Oblivion to Skyrim. A lot of customization, a lot of depth, and the reason why is because it's all about accessibility. These studios, these publishers, they see that as a way for them to be able to reach wider audiences. They, instead of wanting to add value or do anything unique, they instead want to treat their audience like they drank half a can of paint thinner when they were a kid. So we see that in the writing, in the world design, and it's all watered down towards that goal. Expedition 33 subverts that, along with a lot of other developers I've seen recently as well. But while playing this game, I get this overwhelming feeling of respect. Respect for the players, respect for themselves as developers, for the medium, for the game, and much of that respect has been lost within this industry. And that's why players are upset. That's why these games feel hollow in the end, because you have to respect all of it. Otherwise, what's the point? Expedition 33 feels like a miracle at this point in this industry, not a product. And it's a work of art. It's a bleeding, breathing work of art, a testament to what games can actually be. And at the same time, like I had said before, it's exposing just how little we're given from the rest of the industry. I noticed that a lot of game developers and a lot of studios reached out to Sandfall to congratulate them on the success of Expedition 33. I did not see Ubisoft, though. Maybe that's because they're under new management. When I sit back and think about it, I just genuinely don't think this is the kind of game that we would see the industry even dare to try to make anymore. You have a dark, emotionally charged story that doesn't lean into forced humor to be able to soften its blows. It's not like Dragon Age the Veilguard where you're going to fight a dragon, one of the characters starts talking about a book they like, and Tosh intervenes to tell them that the book is probably about sex, doubling down again to say, I bet it's about sex. Wow, so funny. Genius writing, really. Or maybe how about that one time where you go to the infested docks and all the people are dead and one of the characters chimes in like it's a Scooby-Doo investigation saying, it's quiet. Too quiet. Mature rated game, by the way. When Expedition 33 uses humor, it's well delivered and with nuance. I remember there was a scene where I was reuniting with CL. Gustav prepares to trauma dump over what happened at the beach. They zoom in on his face, the tone shifts, dramatic music starts playing, and one of the other characters turns and essentially says, "Not now, Gustav," and the music cuts out. It's unexpected but well-delivered comedy that makes sense for the characters, the world, and the situation. I mean, we have conventionally attractive characters in 2025 without a hint of irony, cynicism, or commentary around it. I mean, I think that Luna's proof that they have a feet guy on their team, but outside of that, it feels so vindicating to have exactly what players have been asking for: aesthetically pleasing, cool-looking characters that are tastefully presented. This is all people have been asking for, yet game developers and the media have taken it out of context, saying that we are asking for strippers. No. Well, I mean, sometimes, but not all of the time. We have a narrative without forced real-world allegory stapled onto it, without painful exposition, dumping the entire plot and every character's feelings, trauma, and identity into your lap because they think that you're too stupid to figure it out. We have stakes, mystery, gravity, and tragedy all left for players to sort out on their own as the story unfolds. Holy shit. You know, let's go ahead and make it a turn-based, Japanese-inspired RPG, the remnants of the genre that have been lost to the passage of time and the vision of C-suite executives that don't believe that it can make money anymore and that players don't even want it, a genre that has essentially been on life support outside of the Atlas games, Octopath Traveler, Atelier series, and a couple of others. Finally, let's tie a bow on the entire thing, make the game with just over 30 developers in under 5 years, and sell it for $50. No, wait, scratch that. Let's put it on sale for 10% off before the game is even released and during its launch week to make sure that it's a fair price point for players, a low barrier to entry, and give those players the opportunity to take a chance instead of feeling like they need to make an investment to play their game. By every modern AAA standard, this game should not exist, and yet here it is, standing taller, reaching farther, hitting harder than almost anything that these AAA studios and publishers have produced. It's refreshing, but more than that, it's enraging because it shows just how low the bar has been set by the people that are supposed to be leading this industry. They keep telling themselves the same lie, not only to themselves, but to us as well, that the only way for them to succeed is to play it safe, that bold ideas are too dangerous, that nuance is confusing, that the audience needs to be handheld, babied, spoon-fed every emotion, every plot point, every mechanic because they are too stupid to figure it out on their own. But this is never about protecting the players. This is about protecting their profits. It's about control. It's about squeezing margins, about turning games into lifeless, frictionless products that can be stamped out, sold, patched, updated, and forgotten. And in doing so, they have crippled themselves. That's what makes what Sandfall has done that much more satisfying. A studio of 33 developers, mostly Ubisoft refugees, who built Expedition 33 on a budget of likely under $50 million in under 5 years, have absolutely smoked Assassin's Creed Shadows on Steam, while being a game that was given away for free on Game Pass, the biggest subscription service in this industry, and they still outperformed it. It's beautiful. It's justice. Zbrush, Sandfall CEO and creative director, didn't leave Ubisoft because he couldn't cut it. He left because anyone with any real ambition, anyone who gives a damn, eventually realizes that you cannot create anything real inside of a machine that only knows how to recycle itself. What would he have done if he stayed? Slapped on another Assassin's Creed DLC, sell some gun skins for Rainbow Six Siege? Maybe, if he was really lucky, he could have gotten assigned to Ubisoft's NFT strategy game. Wouldn't that have been exciting? Expedition 33 would have been strangled the second it was pitched. Too risky, too slow, too difficult to monetize. Ubisoft would have never made a game like this. And here's the sick part. I already know what's coming next. History is going to repeat itself like it always does. A small studio does something extraordinary. Players fall in love with it. In response to that, these publishers start staring at spreadsheets, baffled by the game's success, try to imitate it. They copy the aesthetics, they miss the soul, they throw $300 million at a knockoff, and then cry on their earnings call about how players, their expectations have changed. Did you guys know that they only started out with 8 developers back in 2021? In an old interview that I had found, Zbrush was talking about how they only had 8 people and they were hoping to reach 15. That was the dream. You can still find their early art from back then. Rough, imperfect, they had nothing. And in under 4 years, that scrappy team that then grew up to over 30 developers delivered Expedition 33, a game that looks and feels like it belongs with the biggest and most expensive productions in the world. How does that make any sense? Meanwhile, we have the entire industry that has been lighting billions of dollars on fire and is still somehow making worse games. Sandfall did what the AAA industry insists is impossible. They built a masterpiece. They didn't spend $400 million to make it. They didn't need some bloated marketing campaign. They didn't need 500 people. They didn't even need to sell it for $70. And it worked. Because when you build something with love, with focus, with intent, players notice. We can feel it. Meanwhile, the AAA industry is still crying about ballooning development costs, pretending that they don't know why they're drowning, creating a constant state of entropy in which they are the ones that are increasing costs while players are being demanded to follow their poor business decisions. Nobody told you to staff 800 people to make the next Fortnite. Nobody told you to waste $400 million on another cinematic action RPG. Nobody said that you couldn't try making something new or something fresh. Nobody said you have to keep chasing somebody else's success rather than their ambition. Nobody forced you to bolt on battle passes, shop tabs, microtransactions, and deluxe editions onto every single thing that you release. You did that. You chose that. When I see studios like Sandfall, small, lean, and relentless, deliver something as bold and as unforgettable as Expedition 33, it makes one thing painfully clear. The titans of this industry aren't untouchable anymore. They're bloated, slow, and creatively paralyzed. They have built these massive infrastructures filled with redundant management layers, bloated headcounts, and endless committees, and the end result is a process that is so convoluted that making anything truly original or valuable becomes almost impossible. The games take too long to make, cost too much, and play it far too safe. At this scale, they can't afford to take risks. They can't afford failure. And when you can't afford failure, you're not experimenting anymore. You stop pushing boundaries. You stop creating. You start chasing, copying, playing defense, and eventually you build a studio that has all the money in the world but doesn't have any soul left to build anything. I genuinely think that this industry has just grown past the need for these monolithic publishers and developers. What used to be an advantage, size, stability, brand power, is now the very thing that's holding these guys back. The future isn't being shaped by these corporate giants anymore with these 1,000-person development teams and millions, hundreds of millions of dollar marketing campaigns. It's being built by studios that can still move quickly. They can take creative risks that don't need to pass every idea through 6 layers of executive sign-off just to be able to get a change to a character's dialogue. And I think that's the shift that we're starting to see with a lot of these closures and a lot of these layoffs. It's not just a collapse, but a reformation of sorts. These mass layoffs, as awful as they are for the people that are involved, it's also a turning point because when those studios implode, they don't just disappear, they scatter, they break apart, and what's left behind is raw talent, developers that still want to make something meaningful, who still have ideas that they want to bring to life. Expedition 33 is what happens when those people finally get a chance. We are entering into a new phase for this industry, not because the major players planned for it, but because they couldn't stop it from happening. They failed to value their own developers. They failed to respect their audiences. They failed to protect the creative spark that built the industry. And now, one way or another, they're the ones that are getting left behind. And frankly, it couldn't happen to a better person. I found a couple of interviews from the CEO where he was talking about how essentially the AAA structure is so convoluted and creatively suffocating that it's really difficult to be able to get anything done. But in one of his interviews, he was talking about how much of a challenge it is to be able to go indie in the first place, because a lot of people have to take on a lot of different roles when you're as small as they are. You have a lot of people that become generalists rather than specialists because you just don't have access to that kind of talent, or at least that much talent. But in that, you become creatively focused. The vision stays intact. It's very clear because it's only being handled by just a handful of people. And in that, creativity can thrive and the budget stays low. Those things are really important. So whatever you dream of whatever the game is supposed to be, stays clear the entire time because you're not having to go through 500 people to be able to make something. It's really difficult when one person has an idea and has to communicate it to 500 people instead of 8 or 30, right? These AAA publishers have tied themselves to copy-paste IP, and they've continued to grow larger and larger in scale year over year, and it's all been for nothing because they keep raising the floor without raising the ceiling, and eventually they're just going to get crushed. That's why we're seeing a lot of the issues that we see today. I can't imagine it feels great to worry about layoffs and studio closures and earnings calls while you're watching indie developers run circles around you, free of expectations, creatively free, being able to do whatever they want, free of any type of constraint, free of these insane budgets. Expedition 33 just got greenlit for its own movie, made by the same people that made the Sonic movie. Meanwhile, EA just laid off 400 people. It's a lot of barbs. Expedition 33 has so much heart. It really does. You can genuinely feel that these developers threw everything they had into this game. And seeing as this is their first game that they made, I cannot wait to see what these guys are going to do after. I haven't finished the game yet. I'm going to be getting to that after I finish this video. I think I need to take a break one of these weeks, maybe not try to release 2 videos, maybe just do 1 instead or something like that. But, you know, we get a lot of good games. We get some great ones. But every once in a while, we get one of those games that just knocks you off your seat. It just takes your breath away. And I've had a lot of breathless moments when I've been playing Expedition 33. And it's great to see these developers get the recognition that they deserve and also see their work rewarded. And I think they're going to continue to be rewarded, to be honest with you. We're going to be seeing them at the Game Awards. I'm going to tell you that right now. Probably even win Game of the Year. Unless Grand Theft Auto wins by default, which I could totally see this industry doing that, sadly. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, comment down below, share the video on social platforms. I see that stuff happen, and I see it in the analytics, and it's really cool that people do that. I don't even really ask for you guys to do that, but yeah, that's cool. It helps way more than I thought it would. Yeah, that's all I got. Come follow me on Twitch. Come hang out when I play games on the weekend. Outside of that, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Family, 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 family.
So this is something that's happened. It happened a little while ago, and it is probably one of the, I think every time this happens to a video game, it is an amazing thing. There was a video game that came out last year, Lords of the Fallen, and the reception to that game was incredibly negative. People hated the game. And by people, I mean me. I hated the game. They turned it around and they did a full 2.0 update. They put the game on sale and they totally changed the game.
I don't think we've seen anything like this before. We have a studio that is essentially headed into oncoming traffic. They've turned around and they're headed back in the direction of the players. They've been criticized by the media. They've been dismissed.
No Man's Sky, exactly.
By their peers.
Alarming news. My beautiful city of Tampa Bay is on high alert as we are being ravaged by a loose cannon degenerate who is preying upon female real estate agents by pretending to be interested in purchasing property so that he can caress their feet.
You will only see right here on 10 Tampa Bay. Realtors are now speaking out after sharing posts like these online. They say a man suspected of having a foot fetish is reportedly targeting women real estate agents by booking fake home tours and open house showings.
Pound for pound, it really seems like foot fetishists have the most criminals. Like, of every fetish that exists on this planet, I feel like we see foot fetishists being the ones that are most aggressive and most insatiable with their appetite for their fix. I just see it in the headlines all the time. Like, just a week ago on stream, we learned about this dweeb, the Nevada foot fondler, which sounds like a terrible DC villain, who was recently arrested for breaking into multiple women's homes and rubbing their feet and legs while they slept. Like he was trying to get a genie out of a lamp. He would go in and like rub their feet, and they finally caught him. And there's a body cam of them confronting him as well. He literally looks like a caricature you'd picture in your head if I told you about the Nevada foot fondler. Now, I don't know if he's busted out of Arkham Asylum and now terrorizing Tampa Bay, or if there really is just that many foot fetishist criminals that just keep spawning in. It is crazy, though.
That's right, Dave and Frank. Several realtors are sharing this very similar story of a man inappropriately touching their leg or foot while they are working. And the earliest as far back as July in Pinellas County, and as recently as last week during another showing in Manatee County.
He's been at large for quite some time now. This is far from his first rodeo. They haven't caught him. There's not even a lot of information about who he is. I imagine they don't have any like pictures or any like real information on him, considering he makes these fake bookings and then like going to open houses. So it's not like they're vetting him when he arrives and does this. So he's just like this man of mystery who probably retreats into the sewers like fucking Master Splinter, and he just comes out anytime there's an open house like the fucking boogeyman to go and like touch the female realtor's legs and feet. Now, after doing a little more digging, it turns out they actually do know information about this guy, but they're not releasing it because he hasn't been formally charged or arrested on any of this at the moment. But I would make an argument that by not informing potential victims here, realtors, of who this is, it puts them at risk because he will continue to go terrorize open houses or booking these house tours with the realtors where he might do this again. If they don't know who he is, how are they going to avoid him and stay safe away from him? You know what I mean? And that's one of the things the story talks about, like, just avoid this guy. Well, how if they don't know who it is? Unless they're like privately sharing that information with every realtor in the local area, I guess perhaps they're just not releasing it publicly on the news, maybe? I don't really know.
That time, he, pointed down at my feet and was like, "Oh, you have an ant on your shoe." And I was like, "Where?" And I'm frantic trying to get the ant off my shoe. And I'm like, "Where?" And he's like, "Right there, right there."
Real estate agent Angela Julian didn't realize that was just a trick.
He bends down and he starts unbuckling my shoe and caressing my foot, and I just thought that was really weird. At the same time, he's fidgeting with his phone, petting my foot, fidgeting the phone, and I think he's trying to take some type of a video up my skirt. It was really alarming.
That was just one of his many tricks in the John Madden playbook he uses to get his fix of foot fondling. So she's recounting this in this story where he came up and said like, "Oh, there's an ant on your shoe." So she was like kind of freaking out, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm the hero here. I'll take care of this." And he goes down and then just starts like taking off her shoe, and I can already just hear the fedora tip he does as he says, "M'lady, I've got this taken care of. No need to fear," as he goes down there and then just starts like worshiping her foot while trying to film with the other hand or some shit. I'm surprised she didn't just like reflexively kick him in the face, like breaking his nose. I don't know how he squeaked out of this situation with no injuries and no handcuffs. I'm assuming she was just like really fearful of this, because I think most people would be. That's a pretty alarming thing to just have happen out of nowhere when you're going to do like a fucking house tour for what you think is an interested buyer in the property you're listing. And then for something like this to unfold, that's probably the last thing anyone really expects. Anyway, like I mentioned earlier, it feels like this has happened a lot with feet in particular. Like, that fetish, for some reason, leads to things like this more frequently than a lot of others. I understand it's more on the common side of fetishes, but even still, like, some of the most outrageous ones you won't even hear about, like, producing this many criminals. Like, fucking piss fetishists. You never see a headline with them in a case like this. Like, you never heard about, like, the piss patriot who goes to open house showings in order to con realtors into urinating on him. Like, one of his strategies, similar to this guy, like, "Oh, help, a jellyfish just stung me in the chest," rips off his shirt. "I need you to piss on it to neutralize the sting, quick!"
First unaware of the violation, now at least more than a half dozen women coming forward to share stories of their encounter with the strange man that's left them feeling vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. Instantly, you can sense that something's not quite right, but you can't really put your finger on it.
He's searching Zillow. He's using everything that everyone has public access to see when and where people are going to be.
I imagine this guy's got a setup similar to like Charles Xavier with Cerebro. He's just got like Zillow listings everywhere in the Tampa/St. Petersburg area, and he's looking for open houses so he can go there and touch the realtor's feet. Assuming, of course, they are female, because it doesn't seem like he's targeting male realtors at all.
And that is concerning.
Les Haynes, who runs a group for Tampa area realtors, says up to 30 people can show up for a single open house, with many unvetted. That's why he's advising realtors to prioritize their safety.
If you are carrying a firearm, you need firearm safety, you need practice. It is not buying a gun on a shelf and thinking you're going to be Annie Oakley.
They mention about how a lot of people that attend these open houses, they don't have like background checks or anything. They're not like vetted. It's just people that see it's an open house and they come in. That's the whole fucking point of an open house. It's just kind of fishing to see if there's anyone in the area that happens to drive by that might be interested in the property. So there isn't like a whole lot of procedure behind like getting information on everyone that shows up, which is why he's able to stay so under the radar and why it doesn't seem like there's any information about him. Now this guy is mentioning how important it is to like prioritize safety as a realtor, especially with someone like this out there. So he's talking about firearms, which the Tampa toe tickler probably just got a lot of sweat on his fucking brow right there hearing that.
Have an escape route, have maybe some pepper spray or something that you can grab and get to in an emergency to protect yourself.
And tonight, some of those women have now reported their encounters to area law enforcement, including Clearwater Police just confirming an incident in September. They say if you're a realtor and someone behaves like this or this particular person shows up at your listing, first make sure you get yourself safely out of harm's way and then call 911 immediately.
So since this weirdo is known to authorities, it is now just a matter of, are they going to do anything about him? Are there going to be charges pressed against him for these many acts of caressing people's feet without their consent? So I'm going to keep my eyes peeled to see if they finally do take in the Tampa toe tickler. And, well, that's really about it right now. If you're a realtor watching this, just be careful out there, because he's still off the leash. That's really about it. See ya. Favorite neurons. So I've had my Expedition 33 is a new game that came out last week and has been received with the utmost enthusiasm. It's been getting glazed out the wazoo, a bukkake of compliments and accolades. I believe it's one of the highest rated user scores in all of Metacritic history, and also just one of the highest rated games ever in general. And for a lot of people, this came out of nowhere, like an RKO. People talking about it like it was a surprise that flew under the radar no one had heard of. And that may be true for most people, but I'm not most people. I've had my eyes glued to this puppy for the last 8 or so months since the very first trailer. It just seemed like the kind of game that would tickle all my favorite neurons, so I've had my peepers on it, and I expected big things from it. And it blew all of my expectations out of the water. This game deserves all of the hype and all of the success that it's receiving and more. Whatever you're expecting from all of the headlines, you get more. I couldn't imagine a game hooking me like this at my age. Now, I talk about myself like I'm some kind of geriatric fossil. I'm 30 years old, but I have not been hooked by a game like this in years. The last time I was so invested in a game where I would go around talking to every single character I could find in it was Mass Effect 2. And the last time that I was this addicted to a game, just wanting to play it all the time, was with Elden Ring. That's pretty good company to be in for both of those categories. This game is something special, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of people talking about how impressive it is that such a small studio made it. It's impressive by any metric, but the fact that a studio of only like 30 people made this is mind-boggling. I don't even know how it's possible. Now, of course, they did use like outside contractors, but the core studio is only like 30 or so people. The team is unbelievably talented. It's their first game together as a studio, and they hit an absolute grand salami here. This shit is in slapper. I mean, this was I couldn't be more happy with this game. So let's get into it. First and foremost, this does everything you want to see from modern gaming. Where right now the trend is make games more expensive for less content and then charge more later to like fix the game or make better content for it with DLCs and shit. This bucks that trend, and it's actually a cheaper game for more content. So it's a $45 game for about 60 hours worth of extremely high quality content. Even the side quests in this game are better than most games' main story. I did, like this, again, this is one of the few games where I couldn't help but start doing like 100% completion because it is just that good. Anyway, let's get into the game directly, the actual spaghetti and meatballs. Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG with one of the best stories I've seen in gaming, fucking period. Now, I know it being turn-based has just made a lot of people roll their eyes and they're considering leaving the video because you just can't imagine stomaching the boring turn-based combat systems of the olden age that you think is outdated and archaic. You know, you're sitting there going, what the fart, dude? Turn-based? No thanks. I think you're a fucking goober for that take, and let me go ahead and try and sell you on this being different than whatever you're expecting from turn-based games. This game is significantly more interactive with its turn-based systems thanks to parrying and dodging. You'll see some people make the comparison to Souls games. I think that is way overblown. This has nothing in common with Souls games just because there's dodging and parrying, but it does make the combat feel a lot better because instead of being sitting around waiting for the enemy to attack you, and you either have to like hope for RNG for a miss, or you set up a turn so that way you can block or mitigate the damage. This doesn't have that. If you are good at this game, you can always forever take 0 damage through dodging and parrying. And there's also counters and another thing called gradients. So there's a lot of skill expression here where the parry timing and the dodge window is unforgiving. Assuming you play on expert. Normal, it's a lot more forgiving, but on expert, it is tight timing. Like the parry timing in here isn't quite to Sekiro's level of unforgiveness, but it is not easy. Like the parry window demands that you be actually good at this game instead of just like some fucking lobotomite that's hammering parry, just spamming it. Dodging is a little more forgiving, but even that is still difficult because the enemy's attacks, like their actual arsenal of moves, is so well designed. The combat is flashy and it is interactive. Like I know people have been seeing the quick time events when you use a move. You do have like a timing window. If you hit it perfect, it'll help you out with that move and what it does. But the quick time events aren't the actual interactive nature of the game. That's just there as kind of like a little bonus, a cherry on top to keep you invested on both offense and defense. And it is something nice. It adds more depth to it. But the actual bread and butter of the interactivity of the turn-based is in the dodging and the parrying. Because again, if you are just good, you can be unkillable by everything in the game fundamentally. And another thing is the build variety. There are so many builds for your party that you can run, it is mind-boggling. I've spent hours just making builds for my characters. So you build through things called pictos. So you can unlock skills, sure, but the main bread and butter of a build is the pictos, which are these cards that you'll pick up throughout the world or through fights that'll do things like crit on burn. So if you burn an enemy, you'll get like an increased percentage chance of critting, or it'll do like completely game-changing things. Like there's a really fun synergy with something called auto death, where if you equip that picto, your character will instantly die. But then there's another picto called second chance, which will instantly revive them. And then there's buffs you can give your whole team if a character dies. So what you do is you put auto death on a character, that gives out all of these buffs to your party, and then that character revives and just everyone's got these buffs and now everyone's super fucking strong. There's just so much creativity to the builds here, and it changes from character to character with what you want to do for them. There's also a free aim mechanic with all of your characters where you can turn it into a third-person shooter for the cost of AP, where you can target weak spots on the enemies, or I even made an entire build around free aim for one of my characters where he was just chunking like a fucking Gatling gun, where he's recharging his AP thanks to the pictos I put on there. So I'm just constantly shooting over and over and over again, just stacking up millions of damage. Like, I just love how much flexibility there is with builds in this game. I was hitting over 100 million damage by the end, just through so many different pictos and combinations of skills. It was just actually super fun to engage with this system in a meaningful way. Like, there's so much min-maxing here and just so much meat on its bones. So I really think this is the best turn-based system for, like, in this genre. I really think this is the absolute cream of the crop. So for people that don't like turn-based, I think you're doing yourself a disservice by just writing this one off because of that. This is an experience that I really think will resonate with anyone who gives it a chance. It is just a beautiful story, and it is one of the most visually impressive games I've ever seen. The art design, like the direction, oh my god, it is fucking cinema. Like, absolute peak. The cutscenes are hype. The enemies look incredible and they're super creative. The world, the environment, every zone you visit. So like, there's this overworld. So when you're walking through the map, you'll find like a ton of different like enemies to encounter, like bosses, as well as like different zones, and all of them are so visually interesting and just unreal, like breathtaking. And the music, holy shit, the music in this game. This is a 100% shoe-in to win Best OST this year. There is no game that I think will even come close. The soundtrack for this game is one of the best. I would comfortably put this up there with Nier. This is 100% a soundtrack that's going to be winning a lot of awards that it deserves, and it will be a soundtrack that I think will be talked about for years to come. Now, I want to give you like the overview of the story without any spoilers, because I really don't want to even drop like the tiniest breadcrumb of a spoiler here. So in a nutshell, the story takes place in a world where people live in a place called Lumiere, and there is a giant monolith with a giant time left for years, and we follow Expedition. They want to put a stop to this cycle so that way people can finally watch. The story will hook you within the first 30 minutes. This has one of the best intros in any game I've ever seen. This is actually up there with like the first Last of Us in terms of emotional, hard-hitting introductions to a game. I think people will immediately get invested into this world and its characters. It is one of the best written games I can think of off the top of my head in the modern age. I love the story. It doesn't have any cheesy cliche writing. Characters aren't just super quippy for the sake of like these really silly jokes. Like, yes, there's some comedic moments here, but they're few and far between, so when the comedy is there, it actually hits. This is finally a game that doesn't just follow the same formula of writing that everything else does, where it's just all so safe and Weenie Hut Jr. This is a game that's not afraid to be dark. It's not afraid to be a slow burn and build up of tension and anxiety and mystery. It doesn't just fucking vomit out everything about its world immediately and all of its exposition. It is totally fine to let you wait 20, 23, 25 hours before you finally get most of the pieces of the puzzle to this mystery and this world that you're in. And it feels so good when you do finally get that information. And as it builds up to it, it keeps feeding you these tiddlywinks, so you start coming up with your own theories on what's going on and what it all means. It is so good. The writing in this game is superb. Absolutely extraordinary stuff. None of the characters are unlikable. There is not a single character in this game that I didn't love. There is pretty much nothing I dislike in this game. I had early complaints about like the movement being a little clunky, but the game seems to lean into that in a way that it actually kind of complements it. So the movement is almost identical to Only Up. And I mean that genuinely. Like the sprinting and the jumping is pretty much one-to-one. They even have little side quests where you do Only Up courses at these places called gestural beaches, and you get rewards for completing the Only Up minigames. So it seems like they knew that, leaned into it, and the way the world is designed, like the map's actually set up, I don't think it's ever like a detriment that the movement isn't super clean. Like, it does feel a little janky with the movement, but because of the way they've designed all the maps, it works. So, like, by the mid-game, I no longer had that complaint because everything felt fine with it. It wasn't, like, inhibiting my enjoyment of exploring or anything. Like, I do think there is definitely a way they could have cleaned up the movement, but again, it's not even really a complaint because they were able to utilize it well, and I had a lot of fun with the only up components. I also really did have a problem early on with the subtitles always having a blur on them. I really wish I could have turned that off. I don't know why. That was just a little pet peeve of mine, having blurs on subtitles. Well, the subtitles aren't blurred, but like the background on subtitles blurring the things around it. I don't know. I just don't really like that all that much, but obviously that's like the smallest possible complaint you could ever have for something. The only other thing that wasn't like perfect was the lip syncing. The lip syncing was not amazing at points. I think during all the cutscenes it was totally fine and great, but during like a lot of the side stuff you'd notice the lip syncing wasn't always matching, which again, super tiny complaint. Like this game is so close to perfect actually, to the point where I almost feel bad for Sandfall Interactive, the developers here, because they have made something so unbelievably good that their next project is going to have so many eyes and such high expectations on it. I really don't know how you can even top a game like this. I have a lot of faith in this team now because of how good this game is, but man, it is a daunting task to have something this good as your first project. Like, there's so little to improve on. It really is that close to just being the perfect turn-based RPG experience. I love this game. I think this is easily a Game of the Year contender. Easily a contender for Game of the Year. If it's not in the conversation for Game of the Year, something is truly wrong with the industry. It is corrupt and foul, rotten to the core. I absolutely love this game. It is comfortably in the top 20 best games I've ever played. It is in my top 20 favorite games of all time. I love Expedition 33. I could gush about this for hours, like actually talking about the story and stuff, but I don't want to get into any spoilers or anything, but there's just so much to unpack with it, so much to talk about. It's such a beautifully tragic, enthralling experience. So, yes, I think this game lives up to the hype. I think it exceeds it in every possible aspect. Expedition 33 is a masterpiece. That's about it. So, yeah.
Tai Lopez is arguably
Do it, bitch.
What use is a vault hunter? What use is a killer? A brute. A rule-breaking, loot-taking, running and gunning natural disaster. You are, in a word, mayhem. I take that personally.
Okay, I mean, it's like a jackal from Halo. I mean, it's like a minion build. Blow shit up together. Uh-huh.
Be advised, a citywide curfew has been enacted. Violators will be shot on sight.
That was cool. Millennial slop. How many of the developers, what percentage of the developers for this game have Funko Pops? What do you guys think?
Heyo, I'm Randy Pitchford,
100%.
founder of Gearbox Entertainment. Today, we're giving you our deepest look yet at Borderlands 4. All the excitement, loot, and gnarly carnage all running on PlayStation 5 Pro.
Wow. This is okay.
Since
creating the looter-shooter genre nearly 16 years ago, we've continued to refine the formula, delivering better loot, greater freedom, and endless mayhem. And with Borderlands 4, we push things even further.
Okay.
This is hands down our best Borderlands ever.
Really? I
All new
thought it was
movement,
like the third
abilities,
best.
bigger and badder
That would
enemies,
sound
and a
pretty
brand
bad,
new
right?
planet. All in service of making you feel like a total badass.
It's the perfect entry point for new players with
Okay.
incredible new places and a great story. And for our longtime Borderlands fans, we're throwing back to our more grounded tone while pushing gameplay ahead further than ever before.
Okay.
This is the culmination of years of hard work from my teammates across the Gearbox studios. So enough talk, let's get it. This is Borderlands 4.
Okay.
Borderlands is an unforgiving sci-fi universe
Yeah.
where life is cheap and guns are plentiful. You play as a Vault Hunter, a badass mercenary with powerful abilities called action skills.
Today I'm playing as Vex, our new siren.
Why aren't
She
our
wields
boobs bigger?
supernatural phase energy to devastating effect. She can
what are
use
they
that energy to empower herself,
What are they
or
thinking,
channel
bro?
it to conjure deadly minions that fight alongside her.
Oh my god.
And because everything's better in co-op, I'm joining as Rafa, a former TDR soldier who wears an experimental exosuit.
Okay.
He can digistruct an arsenal of weapons, like
That's
the
kinda
razor-sharp arc knives.
Oh, that's cool. I'd play
These
that.
are 2 of our 4 new Vault Hunters that you can play at launch.
So is it those are
Borderlands
4
4
main
takes
characters?
place on Kairos, an all-new planet steeped in conflict. For thousands of years, the Timekeeper kept the planet hidden, controlling its inhabitants with bolts.
But you found it.
Cybernetic implants fused to their spines. Anyone who stepped out of line was brutally crushed by his army of synthetic soldiers known as the Order.
Okay.
That is until 6 years ago when Elpis showed up. This rogue moon was teleported away from Pandora at the end of Borderlands 3 by the legendary Vault Hunter Lilith. When it reappeared across the galaxy, it crashed into the protective veil around Kairos.
What do you guys think so far?
The results were devastating. A planet-wide cataclysmic event that disrupted the Timekeeper's perfect order.
I think we're looking at a 6 right
people
now.
all across Kairos have started rising up. Some even ripping out their bolts. And chunks of their brain along with it. That's the situation our Vault Hunters have crash landed into.
It's too saturated.
A
It
planet
does
ready
look
to explode, and you're the spark.
It looks kind of messy.
As you explore, you'll meet a cast of incredible characters. Fan favorites
Another
return,
missed opportunity there, guys.
like
You
Zane
guys
and
see it?
Moxie.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
You'll
Oh,
also
we're
meet
good.
new friends like Rush.
All right.
And as always,
That was good.
Claptrap is along for the ride.
Claptrap?
Last but not least is Echo 4. This helpful drone follows you everywhere, hacking order tech, scanning the environment, and helping guide you to objectives.
Was this like First Descendant?
But
I
enough
played
of
that
all
a lot.
Let's get into the game.
Let's get it. Okay,
Thanks to
so
our
this is
improved
the
lobby
game.
system, it's easier than ever to join up with your friends on the fly.
Yeah?
And with full crossplay at launch, you can play with your friends on any platform.
Wow. Messiest
Today,
definition of
we're
Borderlands,
venturing
though?
into Terminus Range,
Really?
a frigid, mountainous region.
I never
This
felt
is
that
just
way.
one of the 4 zones on Kairos that you can seamlessly explore. There's next to no loading time, just
Yeah?
endless looting
Okay.
and shooting mayhem.
I guess I just never felt that way whenever I watched it. Like, my friend
For our
Eric played
current
this game
mission,
a lot.
we need to break into a secret black site located deep in the mountains.
I can
One
respect
of the
them showing
Timekeeper's
actual
generals,
gameplay.
Vile Lichter, has been conducting grotesque experiments on locals.
Good.
It's up to us to stop it.
Why? What do you hate science?
All right, let's get moving. Here I'm using Glide, one of our new movement abilities. Along with dash, double jump, climbing, and point grapple, these make getting around more fun and add a ton of utility to combat.
I agree with that. I think that's smart.
As you traverse, you'll uncover a vast and beautiful world. And to bring Kairos to life, we've introduced
This is
dynamic
decent.
weather and events, so you constantly have new things to discover.
There's also plenty of local wildlife to contend with.
Okay.
Like these Cratch. flying beasts who attack in flocks.
Here we've come across a silo, one of several new activities in Borderlands 4.
You'll naturally discover short gameplay experiences like this all across Kairos.
Okay.
There's no need to pick up a mission first. These are auto-granted and tracked on your HUD.
So this is like it's like
Silos
First Descendant.
house old, decommissioned order tech that you can hijack for the Crimson Resistance.
With the help of Echo 4, we'll hack into their network and release the communications balloon.
Ooh, that's a big one. Wow.
Now that we're in charge, we can fast travel to the silo. And as a bonus, it's revealed the approximate location of a vault key fragment. We can collect these fragments to unlock a hidden vault, a high-level dungeon with challenging combat and serious loot.
I'm gonna be honest, like this is getting better.
Let's get after it.
This is cool. Yeah, this is all right.
Another nice thing about silos is you can zip line up and take off.
This is good. So now you're like gliding with that?
And if that's not fast enough for you, you can always pull out your personal vehicle, the Digirunner. Just hop on, hit boost, and
It's a
get rolling.
ghost.
You can customize the body, paint job, and even how it handles.
And because this is Borderlands,
Can you shoot things with
believe
it?
it has guns.
Okay, you can. That's exactly what I was wondering.
As you traverse, you'll encounter a host of dynamic events. From order patrols to world bosses, there's always something to shoot and loot.
Okay. Are there going to be like public worlds where like you
All right,
queue in and
we're
there's
coming
like
up
people
on an
playing?
order outpost. Let's see the new movement abilities in action.
No? Why not? I thought that was always really cool with First Ascendant.
Chaining our new traversal abilities together makes combat more dynamic than ever. You can dash in and out of melee attacks, dodge projectiles, or quickly reposition to gain an advantage.
This reminds me, I can't wait for Doom Dark Ages to come out. There's something about the, like, I don't, I'm so divided on this game right now.
Now I know that there's a vault fragment around here somewhere, but we've got a mission to get back to. Let's pull out Echo 4 to show us where to go.
It seems floaty. Like the gameplay and like the shooting and the combat, just in my
We're
opinion,
meeting up with none other
it
than the
feels like
Tiger
it's kind of
Talia
messy
herself,
and like
Amara.
blurry and not like
She's
very
a former
clean.
vault hunter, an exotic pet sitter from
And not
Borderlands
in like a
3.
stylistic
she came to
way,
Kairos in search of Lilith, and is now
but just in
helping
like
us
kind of
take
a
down
bad
the
way.
Timekeeper.
Don't you whine at me, honey.
That's Borderlands?
In a moment, huh?
Really? I mean, I don't know.
You agree to pet sit for a few weeks, and the
I
next
feel like
thing
the
you know, you're
style
having
is
full
one thing, but the
conversations with
visibility
her.
is something different.
You don't use security like that unless you've got something to hide. This must be the path to the black side.
Uh-huh.
Agreed. But if Lilith is on the other side, I don't mind some property destruction.
Why does she have a Karen
Ooh,
haircut?
your specialty. Please, be my guest.
Why couldn't they
Come,
just go through
Let's throw some
like
light on this black site of his. This place is crawling with creeps. Clear them out.
Co-op has always been at the heart of Borderlands, and we
Oh,
put a
that's kinda
ton of
cool.
work into making it better than ever. Our improved lobby was just the start.
This is
You can
like the
also
demon-
set your own
you literally go
campaign
in demon
difficulty
mode?
independently of the rest of the party. This
Uh-huh.
way, everyone can tune the experience to their liking.
And you don't have to
What?
worry about looting and just stealing your drops. as loot is always instanced for each player.
Oh, that's
Plus,
smart.
if you ever get split up, you can easily fast travel to your friends. And two-player
That's
split
good.
screen returns so you can enjoy couch co-op. Regardless of how you play, we just want you to be able to hang with your buddies and have a great time.
It seems like they're making a lot of good calls. Yeah, all of that is really good.
That?
Tim? Yeah, they definitely have Funko Pops.
Everyone else heard the talking creep, right?
Tim feels like the product of Lictor's twisted mind. Another of his experiments.
Okay.
If he's doing this to creeps, I shudder to think what he's doing to Lilith. We need to get inside.
This Age of Humor is so
That air
over, man.
vent. Let's check it out.
Stop.
Hermes is really creeped out in here.
Find Lilith.
Not me, obviously. Hermes.
Lilith, it better be hot.
Now that we're in the black site, let's take a moment to talk about loot.
Okay, so here's the gear.
In Borderlands 4, each piece of gear comes from one of 8 manufacturers with their own characteristics and trademarks. There's Jacobs, with crit-friendly black powder weapons, the elemental expertise of Maliwan, Vladoff, who solve lower accuracy with more bullets.
Okay.
The toss to reload Tedior, or Torg with explosions.
That seems like a
We
cool,
also have
like,
3
yeah, that
new
seems
ones.
all right.
The Order with powerful charge and release blast.
Yeah.
Fully auto rippers. And the reliable, easy-to-use Daedalus, which can use multiple ammo types.
But that's just the start. We've introduced an all-new licensed parts system. This allows for behaviors and abilities from multiple manufacturers to spawn in a single weapon. For instance, this flat-off assault rifle
it's
features
RNG.
a Torg mag, Hyperion shield, and a Maliwan elemental switch, meaning it shoots fast and explodes things.
Good.
The higher the rarity, the more parts that can randomly spawn, creating wilder and wilder loot.
And that's before even getting into alt fire modes, underbarrels, and
What the
elemental
fuck?
damage.
The possibilities are truly
Yeah, I'm
endless.
not even complaining. I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's like RNG.
To support playing with your favorite manufacturer, we've added enhancements.
Okay.
This new type of gear replaces artifacts and provides bonuses to specific manufacturers.
All right.
Take my current enhancement. It adds a kill bonus to all guns with Daedalus parts, along with more reload speed and critical damage. This lets you min-max your build around your favorite manufacturer, immediately turning just okay guns into amazing weapons.
Okay.
Finally, we've heard your feedback, and we've overhauled our drop rates and loot across the game. We've worked hard to make sure
More
all our
loot?
gear feels better than ever, while also making rarity matter again. This makes for our most satisfying loot chase ever. And at the top of everything are legendaries. These have always had unique effects that you won't find on any other piece of gear. But in Borderlands 3, they drop too often. This not only
Yeah,
devalued
I think that's a problem a lot of
legendaries,
games
it made
have.
everything feel less valuable.
You need to have something
In our
that
new
doesn't drop
system,
all the
Not
time.
only do all guns feel great, but now legendaries will truly be special
Like Diablo
events.
has this issue too.
We've added the magic back to our loot chase, and we know you love grinding all that great gear on Kairos.
But let's get back to combat so I can show you my favorite thing.
All right, let's get it.
This is the new gear slot for grenades and heavy weapons like rocket launchers.
Oh, that's cool.
Instead of taking up a gun slot and ammo, Ordnance now has
What the
cooldown
fuck?
timers. No more saving the big guns for boss fights. Now you can blow stuff up as often as you want.
Okay, that's kind of cool. I feel like it slows you down though.
Before we go further, let's talk a little bit about action skills. Every Vault Hunter has a set of 3 unique action skills.
Okay.
These are class-defining abilities with devastating effects. Up until now, I'd been using Incarnate to deliver powerful phase blasts. But let's switch it up to Phase Familiar and pull out Trouble.
So you
As
can have like a
see,
minion
each
build?
action skill has its own branching skill tree, giving
What
you
the
more build
fuck?
freedom than ever before. On top of passive skills,
That's
you
kinda
can
cool.
further customize action skills with augments and capstones. These are socketed enhancements that add new behaviors and functions to your action skill.
Different builds completely change how combat plays out, resulting in near endless freedom to experiment. You can swap unlock augments or capstones on the fly, or completely respec your skill trees at hubs around Kairos.
This gives us a chance to talk about traits. Each Vault
played
Hunter has a
Borderlands
unique
1?
passive ability called
For
a trait.
like 30 minutes.
For Vex, her action skills attune to the element of her equipped weapon.
I'm coming. This is another
So by
like
swapping
franchise
guns,
like
I
I'm
can
coming
change
into. I don't
Trouble's
really
damage from
understand.
Kinetic to shock, fire, or any other elemental type.
That's kind of cool.
And also, you can pet the cat.
Dead end. Or is it? Let's see where this vent takes us. Gods. Are those test tubes?
Okay. What's she moaning for? That's kind of cool. All right.
I'm down, but thankfully our fight for your life mechanic makes a return. Of course, I could have avoided it in the first place if I had just used my ref kit. This new piece of gear provides health and other buffs, like temporarily boosting my elemental damage, rate of fire, or movement speed.
So this is like your ultimate ability?
I'm almost afraid to ask what's in the tube.
Oh, look
Okay.
at these guys. Are those crystals
No? Okay.
growing out of them?
By the way, if you're looking to experience the story again or just grind for loot, we've added full mission and boss replay.
That's smart.
right. No more save loading to run bosses. Now you can return to the arena and use Moxie's big encore machine to spawn another run.
But we'll talk
That's
more
a cool
about
idea.
endgame later.
Let's see the boss.
For now, let's jump ahead and show you something truly badass.
Okay, here we go. This is what I'm talking about.
In Borderlands 4, our bosses are bigger and better than ever, putting all your new skills,
This is cool.
gear, and abilities to the ultimate test.
It's like SDL, you know?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Spoilers. That's enough of that for now. But
that
we look
was
forward
decent.
to showing you much more this June at our first hands-on gameplay event.
And from everyone at Gearbox, thank you for joining us.
We're thinking about a 6 to a 7. I think that's pretty reasonable. I started at a 6.
Beyond and hello and welcome to a very special
I don't like
episode
this
of
guy.
IGN.
His hairline's so much better than mine. I don't want to look at him. Anyway, so what about the actual game here? What did I think about it? Overall, I think the gameplay seemed decent, right? The only game that I played like this a lot in the past has been, what's it called? What's the name? First Descendant. I played the First Descendant a lot. I really played that a ton of times, like over 100 hours I put in that game. Would I play this game? This is absolutely an Asmongold game. This is a brain-dead, grinding, probably pretty easy game that I can play with my brain completely fucking turned off. Yes, I absolutely would play this. It's cool to make builds like this, and yeah, that's decent. This has story. Yeah, apparently, well, so did First Descendant. It had a story. And so anyway, yeah, I think this looked okay. It didn't look like super amazing. It wasn't like the best game I'd ever seen or anything like that, but I would say that it's a pretty decent looter shooter game, and The only thing that I don't like about it is that it does have that millennial core humor that I think is just so tiresome. It's like like this big, like, evil monster. Its name is like Tim, and like every achievement is some sort of like meme from the internet. It's kind of like that's, in purple colors. Yeah, the Rick and Morty vibe. Exactly, right? That is hell. Now, the graphics and everything, the way it looks, I think, like, for example, I think this looks really, really, really nice. Like, this visual looks amazing, but a lot of the other visuals, I think, like, for example, like this, it just kind of looks to me like, I know people say it's, like, messy, and I remember looking at old Borderlands, and I actually think that the, like, kind of outlined style made it less messy. And so it's kind of weird that people are saying, like, this is the way Borderlands has always been. I haven't really played it before. This is just like me looking at it from like a third person point of view. But it certainly does look kind of, it looks like, for example,
Hey guys, welcome back to Middle Ground.
Before we jump in, we've got a huge announcement. A lot of folks have been asking for this for years. We're finally giving you the first ever Jubilee podcast called Radical Empathy.
That's right. We are really proud and excited to share it with you guys. It actually features an interview with somebody in this episode, so stick around until the end and we'll tell you more about it.
For now, enjoy the episode.
The one on my right, sphere, if you think that is the shape of the Earth, point to it now. If you think the other model is the shape of the Earth, point to it now.
2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. One small step for man. One giant leap for mankind.
What do you think the shape of the Earth is?
I don't think. I know for a fact it's a globe.
The Earth is flat.
It's like we have this picture of reality that's a big puzzle piece, and then one of those pieces just wasn't fitting.
I'm always open to having a discussion with someone who is holding a wrong belief like this.
Are you willing to change your mind on this?
I'm not. The evidence is so much.
Nobody wants to be a flat earther, but if you showed me incontrovertible evidence, I would definitely go back. Who wants the ridicule?
Where do you want me to get from the discussion with the other side?
I'd like to tear them to pieces.
I'm Jim Underdown, Executive Director of the Center for Inquiry West in Los Angeles and the Chair of the CFI Investigations Group.
I'm Spencer Marks, one of the senior members of the CFI Investigations Group, Science Advocate.
I'm Marina Yeri. I'm a theoretical physicist, and I'm with the University of Irvine.
I'm Wendell Walton. I'm a Chief Learning Officer for a young startup.
I'm Shelley Lewis. I'm a graduate of West Point, critical thinker, and jumped out of airplanes.
My name is Dan Glatman. I work as Dan the Waterman in the drinking water filtration industry, and I'm a truth seeker.
I get my flat earthers on the left and my globe earthers on the right. Only step forward if this is true for you. I believe the earth was created by a higher power.
Well, I've been a Christian for 30 years, so the Bible is a flat earth book. You have to take it literally. Like, for example, in Isaiah, when it talks about how the earth is like a clay wax seal that's stamped with upturned edges, that's just not some fancy story. That's a simile. It is like.
Right, absolutely. And in Isaiah it talks about too, and I'm a Christian, he who sits upon the circle of the earth. There's a difference between a circle and a ball.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
If you look at the original Hebrew, it means disc. There's over 200 scriptures in the Bible that point to a flat earth.
So this notion that you need God or some higher power to create the earth or the universe is very old. And was initially posited by people of a pre-scientific age. Since then, we have learned quite a bit about the universe coming into existence, when that happened. Modern humans don't get their cosmology, they don't get their physics, they don't get their knowledge of the universe from the Bible or any ancient text.
It's sort of like the God of the gaps. Once, people used to believe that lightning was God's wrath and throwing these lightning bolts, but once we understood it was a natural process, God shrank a little bit more because now we couldn't attribute those lightning bolts to God. We had to attribute that to the real science. And the other thing, the point about the Bible specifically for me is, why is that one particular text the correct one? You choose to believe that, and that's fine, but there's so many other writings and so many other books, so why weren't they correct? Why is just the Bible correct?
Well, what you'll find in a lot of these ancient religions is they're all flat earth religions. All their cosmology goes back to being a flat earth with an enclosed system. So it's not just the Bible that teaches this. It's many different religious books.
So one problem I have is to trying to explain phenomena happen in nature by holy books. Those are religious books. Those are not books of science. And it is wrong to infer or deduct scientific readings out of those books.
My name is Wendell. I am a logical, biblically based, and scientific flat earther. I didn't start out, and no one starts out as a flat earther, but I had a lot of questions. So I actually got to the point where I had to go out and put my own eyeballs on it. So we went out to an observation at Salton Sea, and things just didn't add up down there. So we've gone back probably a dozen times, and I can guarantee you that there is no curvature over distance.
The internet has played an important role in confirming my view of this topic.
That's the problem.
Well, we have the advantage of information today that's outside of channels 2, 4, and 7 and the few networks that are corporately owned. It's pretty easy to say YouTube isn't research, but when you spend enough time, you're picking up quite a bit. And with the discussion groups, panels, we've gone against opposition. We've opposed ourselves. Surprisingly enough, Flat Earth is its own worst enemy. So it's not that easy for us to come to consensus. And we find that consensus is orchestrated and not actually scientific in any way.
You know, my grandfather used to tell me growing up, never believe anything you read in the newspaper, right? He told that to me. Now, with the age of the internet, it's like, you know, how much of this misinformation are you getting there? And when you have like eyewitnesses taking video of something, you do have to take everything with a grain of salt. That's why, because of my multimedia background, I knew that all that stuff could be faked. You know, take it into Photoshop, take it into After Effects.
Okay, this is at the core of the issue of why there are so many flat earth believers out there right now. The problem is the information from someone who decides to start a website or produce a YouTube video is not reliable. When I have a toothache, I go to a dentist. When my car breaks down, I go to a mechanic. When you have questions about cosmology, you should go to an astrophysicist, you should go to a physicist, you should go to people who have spent years and years studying these ideas, not some 6-minute YouTube video. There is a percentage of people that if they saw a YouTube video that was not within their scientific chops to refute on the face of it, would believe anything out there.
One of the things I will say is NASA.gov has their own documents out there that we get to vet, which is through the Freedom of Information Act. And would you agree that NASA documents, if they're on display, that we should be able to go and research inside there?
NASA is not proving that the Earth is flat.
Well, they say it in 14 of the documents.
You should read what NASA says, and you should listen to what NASA says.
I would love to see your NASA evidence that the Earth is
It's
flat.
only their contradictory issues that
let's
bring
see.
us here.
We're all familiar with the Earthrise photo, right? The Earth is rising over the moon. We're all familiar with it. That's NASA. You can go out to NASA's site. You can download the original, right?
I already know what you're going to ask.
So you bring up the luminance on it, and you can see where it's cut out and pasted there.
They're showing us doctored images that are clearly doctored. The blue marble is a very famous image from 1972. When you talk to the artist from NASA, his name is Robert Simmons, he talks about exactly how it was created from data, and it's not a photograph whatsoever. He added clouds.
Let me explain.
He added a highlight of the
If
sun.
you take, you know, on your phone, most phones have that panoramic image. When you do that, you're taking a series of pictures, and the phone cleverly stitches
I'm
that
just
together.
saying how it's
Hold on.
presented. It's
Hold on.
presented as a real
So when
photograph.
NASA takes real photos and they either clean them up for color or they stitch them together so it's one large image, it doesn't mean they're CGI.
You're talking about composites. I'm what you call a globe denier. You could even get me into a virtual construct if I can't find the borders myself.
What shape would you say you think the Earth is?
It appears to me to be a stationary plane, as opposed to the vastness of infinity of space. I would find it to be an ice plane where we have a localized sun and our environment thrives there. You know, these particular people have misled us on television. This is a brilliant opportunity to speak. We've been suppressed, censored by mainstream media. Alternative media is just a thing of beauty for me.
I view the other side as uneducated.
I'm running.
They think we are
I'm
uneducated?
running for this.
Well, they certainly think they're educated.
And they're following quite a bit of the university system, what we call scientism.
Right, scientism.
Obviously is the belief in what's written, where we tend to be exploring in the field with physical properties, not theories of any kind. We're using actual measurements that are calculated not by our guidelines, but the guidelines of science as we know it. I can only hope they're uneducated as opposed to disingenuous.
Well, that's the other thing too, because we know that at least on a large scale, the government has been disingenuous, and they're pushing a narrative, right? So it's hard for us. I mean, I'm sure that you've met people too. It's like, look, are you haven't looked into it yet, or are you a shill? Are you part of a disinformation campaign?
I don't think you guys are uneducated. I think you're wrongly educated.
I think the problem with what I've seen in the flat earth crowd is that it's not that they're undereducated, but they, instead of looking at evidence and letting the evidence guide to where the ultimate conclusion is, they start with a conclusion and then they try to cherry pick evidence to support their pre-drawn conclusion. They cast away all the bits of evidence that actually is contrary to their belief system.
I think that you're very well educated as well as you are, Jim.
But certainly Ali is. He's probably got the best education of all of us.
Exactly, and he paid for it too. But more and more professionals are coming on board. They're starting to question their reality. So the thing of it is once you start to really take a hard look at the evidence, and you are unafraid of just standing for the truth wherever that may lead you, then people end up becoming flat earthers.